Hi, I'm Vlad, UI Bakery founder. Welcome to our channel. Today, we're talking to Ray Martin, the CEO of Qualifirst, a gourmet food supplier in Canada. In this video, he shares how they used UI Bakery's AI features to build more than 100 apps to automate their operations, all without hiring software engineers. Without further ado, let's jump into the video. Ray, thanks a lot for joining this call. Can you please introduce yourself, your role, and what Qualifirst does in one sentence?
So I'm the CEO of Qualifirst Foods, and I've been with the company almost since the start for about 35 years now. And so we've grown it from a fairly small company to a medium-sized company. And we import food products from various parts of the world into Toronto and into Vancouver. And then we repackage, we transform, and then we sell them to different channels in Canada, distributors, restaurants, retail stores, and we're trying to go into consumers as well.
Okay, thank you very much. And what workflow or problem pushed you to look for a new internal tool solution? And what was the cost of not fixing it?
Well, I mean, our search came from basically the rise of artificial intelligence, realizing that we could do things differently. So we had been in a ERP. We sell a lot of different products exactly the way you want to do them, because we like to focus on having very few but highly effective people. And for that, you really need all the information to be exactly the way they want it, where you want it, how you want it. And in ERP, it has all the data structure, but then when you start building into it, the more you build it, the more you change it, the more it gets complicated. And then at some point, it becomes impossible, right? It's because there's so many interconnections. It's like the analogy of, you hook up it way before when you would hook up systems and you have 20 wires and then it was all neat. And then always a week later, everything was tangled. So we got to the point where we were so entremeshed into our customizations that we couldn't develop and we're stuck. It wasn't broken. And we've been trying to upgrade to the next level and we're completely stuck. And then we started coming to the realization that maybe what's necessary is to create a new front-end interface to separate sort of the application layer, as you will call it, with the actual database layer, which is something we'd actually done way back when partially with a product called Microsoft Access quite a while ago that partially did that. And then when we saw UI Bakery, in a sense, I mean, not just UI Bakery, but we started, let's say, for example, like with Base44, some of the better known products. And we find that like some of the products will deliver better prototypes or better visual prototypes faster than UI Bakery. But then if you're not a developer, like what do you do with it, right? That was the question. And you start having to go to developers, then it's more time, more work, and then you have to rebuild. Also because our company is complicated enough and we have multiple pricing and it's a complicated that if you're not doing it with data, you're not really solving the problem. You're creating a mock cook.
Yeah.
Well, for me, UI Bakery was sort of being able to solve the problem like with an AI prompt. So you're not a developer with the real data and you can slowly build it up to where you want. And some of the things that seem really that are simple for a human, like move this box to the left, a little bit, or add this box here, add this dashboard here. In UI Bakery, it's a prompt, and it puts it there. Whereas in developer world, it's like you create a ticket and you wait 2 weeks and you spend a fortune just out of a box to a screen. So it sped development up. It allowed us to integrate all of our different apps into one place. And we also found that it doesn't try to do too much, because that was also the problem we had before, is the apps apps like UI Bakery, they try to do like everything, not just the front end data layer, but they also try to be a data lake. They try to be this, and then you don't even know what they do. Like that's a big problem today. Like you look at an app and you're not exactly sure what it does or how to use it, or you get lost. So for me, it was a blink moment too. Like I would go to an app and I'd say, can I use I give myself half an hour. Can I do something here? Can I understand it? And then one of the big breakthroughs was, our ERP is Odoo, open source, and it's quite a challenge sometimes to connect to it through API. And we've been trying quite a few platforms, and they would fail, and then they would fail and give up. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
UI Bakery did fail the first couple of times, but then you get the little button that says fix, and eventually
Mm-hmm.
you were able to interact, and I was able to
Mm-hmm.
connect to Odoo. And that's
Mm-hmm.
essentially why we decided, okay, we can connect to our ERP. We seem to be able to build something. Let's dig into this deeper.
Which platforms did you try except for Base44? I think you mentioned already.
Something called Retool, I think we looked
Mm-hmm.
at, and we just found it too complicated. It probably could do it, I guess, if we had the resources and we were developing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But basically, I don't even remember the names of them. But we basically, like, when you go into, like, you ask an AI, they always give you like the top 10 tools that everybody uses, but they're off
Mm-hmm.
the price level and they have no pricing, which that eliminates for us right away. Or
Mm-hmm.
they're just too complicated to use. Like, you go into them one after the other, and they started off as a simple tool, but then they do so much, like, we can't.
Mm-hmm.
So that was sort of a success. That was the criteria. We finally hit a tool that we can work with, and we realized it connects to Odoo, and then we had to find other missing pieces. But I find it easier sometimes to have maybe 3 or 4 pieces of software that are more specialized than one that tries to do everything. It just gets too
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
that's use. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot for sharing this. Yeah, and maybe now if you could walk us through your most important your bakery app end to end, who uses it, what does it do, and outcomes it drives, and also if you could share your screen, that'd be
Yeah.
perfect.
We're still in large part in development still. So like we started deploying it. We're actually using UI Baker as our strategy to upgrade from Odoo 15 to 19, for example, because there's no
Mm-hmm.
upgrade path from 15 to 19. That's very simple. So what we're doing is we're actually connecting UI Bakery to 15, and we're creating a fresh UI Odoo 19 database, and we're just going to basically move the application layer from one to the other to save a lot of issue. Now, one of the most complicated so far that we've built is our procurement application. That's almost ready to go live. That has a lot of data into it, and hopefully it's not. And the advantage is there's a lot of things that we want to do at once that are interrelated, and we also want to automate it. So for us, like, because we have a purchasing process, so we have to purchase. So we created an area where we can look at our purchasing and get recommended
Mm-hmm.
orders. We did then our stock level. So sometimes we have 2 companies, so we created a separate screen to be able to transfer stock between the companies with all the information we want, where we want it, how we want it. It's actually quite complicated to get companies to build the way you want it. And then we also do
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing, and sometimes we manufacture products that we purchase with bill of materials. So that also can become quite complicated. So we built a manufacturing dashboard inside of here, and then like different warnings like overstock, our vendor list, our sales. So we were able to do everything in one. And so one of the advantages we find is that because UI Bakery can also write to the SQL if you create a proper one. For example, our reorder the query was way too big and it couldn't be handled. So what we
Mm-hmm.
ended up doing is we created a secondary warehouse, and then I created basically a series of materialized views that I run one after the other. And then in the
Mm-hmm.
end, we get the purchasing view, which is very complicated. And the
Mm-hmm.
advantage is that UI Bakery can actually knows the problem, can write the view, can do the whole process. Whereas otherwise, if you're into multiple platforms trying to write a review here or review there, it's an extreme challenge. So that's one app that we've deployed. I mean, the first app that we deployed is called the delivery app, which is one of the more simple ones we did, which is probably what most people would do with, I guess, initially with UI Bakery that you would sort of do, right? So basically we
Mm-hmm.
did, this is for delivery batches in Odoo. And then basically it shows all of the customers that we have to deliver. And we created a
Mm-hmm.
front end option for the driver, like that can actually look at, and as he signs, he can get them signed. Like I didn't build this app, but it can be signed. He can reorder it. It tells him what route to order it, what status it's in. It's automatic. So and then basically we can even real time track where the driver is delivering. So we essentially created a real time
Wow.
delivery app, which in of itself is a whole software that people sell, right? Like every little
Yeah,
piece is software that people sell, right?
exactly.
And then Fing was like time. So we basically employee hours. We have an online app where where people log in their hours, but it was a
Hmm.
silo. And then we never been able to connect via APIs, and now we're able to connect an API, and then basically it automatically grabs the hours, and then we just send an email, and it sends the email
Hmm.
person into the payroll. So we built that already.
And how many apps do you have in total?
Well, so now I guess if you can see on the left-hand screen, I think we're about 20 that we're working on. They're not
Yeah.
all live, but then there's one CFIA that's for government regulations. So if we ever have a recall of products, we can search by lots. We can see who bought it, and it can help us organize a recall. Fleet inspection, I don't know what that is. I guess we have a couple cars, and it's just to keep track of our cars. Daily checklist. So this is just basically a checklist for the warehouse of things they have to do. So we're creating an app for them for that. So not everything is complicated, right?
Yeah.
Something called the
So,
bin manager. That's the idea. You can create like little micro apps. I got a problem, I solved it,
exactly.
And here it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
location manage. I don't know how this actually works, but it basically this will allow us to change the bin locations in the warehouse live for our users. A blog, I don't know about that. Field configuration, product photos. So yes, I don't know how this is working, but we built something that basically we took all the pictures of all of our products and we hooked up into
Hmm.
data asset management software called ImageKit. We take the photos, and not only we take the photos, but we're able to get AI to take the photos, inspect it, put it into a table, see what photos are missing, and then there's another app that's going to enrich the information, add descriptions, listing information. So we were able to automate essentially what uh, what is considered to be like a problem we've never solved for many years: how to properly take pictures when you have thousands of products, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
particularly and actually tell you what's doing. So that's something. And then PIM, which is something else, product inventory management. And this is not even the full PIM product. This is just to configure. Sometimes we create, I think, an app to help manage another app when it's too complicated. For example, we have something called Qualipim, which is one big one, which is to manage all our product attributes. So we have the normal one, but the advantage is we can create dashboards like data quality, so we can actually track the stage of each product, what stage it's been in completeness. We just basically got rid of the PIM that we had a PIM and we got rid of it, and the PIM was actually not that cheap, right? And here it gives us basically attributes, assets. So basically we have a full product information management system outside that we built. This is the product photography workshop that I mentioned to you. So this is basically, it syncs with Google Drive. We take pictures and it
Hmm.
automatically processes the pictures into the other software.
And how
Um,
many integrations do you use in general across all of your apps?
I don't know yet. It's a building process. So that's a good
And how many data sources? You mentioned you use
question.
other
Well, they're not that
API.
huge, the data sources, because we basically we have one internal data source that we're trying to compress to, because initially it was creating multiple ones, but we
Mhm.
haven't done that yet. And then
Yeah.
basically we have various odus, because we have 15 and 19 that we're trying to
I see.
migrate to. And then we have ImageKit, which is for the images. And then
Hmm.
we internalize the APIs. We have one like
Hmm.
for SendGrid to send emails. We have one for Pelican, which is a data warehouse. And Photo Room is an API that helps fix the images when we take them. Cloud Vision we don't use, but so it's not that
Hmm.
much so far. Actually, when you think about it, it's not that many. Not that many moving parts outside of. I created quite a few drawings. I can show you after maybe.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
but it's still quite a few data sources, I would say.
you think so?
Yeah. Yeah, you use a lot of APIs, so I guess, but your
But it's the same
internal.
API, just different ways, right?
Ah, I see. I see.
And with like
Okay.
15 different ways, because we're transitioning from one, so it's helping us transition from one ERP to another. And it
Hmm.
compare, like it can also go into a test database before you go into a live database. easily, which is not necessarily something you can do with an ERP normally. We even did things like for Amazon, how to find new products on Amazon by connecting to an API for Amazon products, finding the Amazon keywords for bestsellers, or create an app for that. Something to track sales, and this is, I guess this one's a bit slower, maybe. It's going to be fixed. And then we have an order entry app, which is also a big one. In order to not to enter orders directly in Odoo, to have it to screen exactly the way we want it, is basically create a sales that. So sometimes we create apps within apps. The advantage is you could have like a big app that can actually have and it can still all interrelate and understand each other. So we could create the orders, the quotations, quick actions, payment methods. I guess we're still debugging it, right? But
yeah. And do I understand correctly that essentially these apps are basically used by your own company, right?
Well, this is the front end. There's a few of us that are developing it, and then we want to deploy them obviously as apps for the company. And actually part of it, we were, for example, in the warehouse, everyone was using laptops or Chromebooks. And as when we introduced UI Bakery and starting taking pictures, we realized that hey, we need something automated to take better pictures. So we started testing, like we got a Google Pixel, we got one of the Samsungs. Realized, with UI Bakery, we can create little apps. So warehouse people, instead of having a computer, they can have a phone. So they have a Pixel. And the advantage of the Pixel is we're going to create processes where people can take pictures of what they're doing with the Google Pixel they're carrying to further automate the processes of order entry. So it's allowing us to create micro apps geared to people. And it also can do, like, we have a sales order management, but you may have like 5 or 6, like you're going to have, like we have a few key salespeople in different parts of the country, and there might be different roles, different personalities. So once we launch, we can create like an application for each person, so it appears the way they want to appear, it the way their mind works, the way they want to work. If they say, I want the button, on this, I want this button, I want that button, but person B doesn't want that button, then it's not actually that complicated to create sort of a maximally quick, efficient interface for everybody.
Have you been building in generally like these apps, custom apps before UI Bakery and AI in general? So have you been automating your microprocesses in organization?
Well, the first step was trying to do everything inside of Odoo, which having it look the way we want, in which we worked at a certain point. But the problem was, once we automate a process, we move on to process 2, we move on to process 3, and then process 1 breaks. And then you have to start again, and then you have to get a developer in place. Whereas here, we find if something breaks, we can fix it quickly. So our last attempt at doing this was before Odoo. I said it was like with Microsoft Access, for example. Even back in 1995, we took Microsoft Access and we put our price list and our catalog inside of Microsoft Access with photos. And then we would manage customers but so we did it before, but it didn't have AI. It was much more primitive. So this actually replaces the front end interface. So we weren't doing it that much before. And I guess this is sort of a first experiment.
So this is like a new possibility that has opened, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And how long does it actually take in general to go from idea to working app?
I mean, it depends on how complicated the app is. Like, for example, the delivery driver app, I think that might have taken like a couple of hours, and then you tweak it. And then the Procure Pro, which is the procurement app, I mean, that's probably a couple weeks of work. But I mean, we've been trying to get that built with somebody else for years and years, and we still haven't been able to build it. And we find that once we train our internal users to think like you're supposed to, because it's a different mindset. So once we adjust the mindset, like, for example, the product, the Quali PIM, initially they were building this PIM and he was doing like little teeny weeny steps, weeks and weeks. And we said, okay, no, with UI Bakery, you can go fast. This is how you build. And we're lucky to have someone like Jodi that was able to quickly, understand how to do it. And once they understand, you can get something fairly advanced, like quickly. Like, for example, we've almost finished building a warehouse management system from scratch in UI Bakery. And I'm trying to find it here, which is fairly I don't know what stage it's at. Yeah, no, it's not WMS. This is document. We built one just for document processing, but this is not the one. Let me see what it's called. I think we call it WMS. Yeah, Patrick Core. So here we've created, so this is good conceptually, right? He's created it. So we have basically an interface. When we release it, we're going to have an interface customized for each job. So this job, this is what you see. If you're the picker, this is what you see, and this is what you're supposed to pick. I mean, it's still in development. So basically it gives them what they're supposed to pick, their orders, and I guess they can go into each order. So we create one front end app that has a different interface for everybody. So no, they don't need to know what anybody else needs to do. And at the same time, you can actually build you can build like diagnostics as you're building the app as well. So that increases the. So this is like people don't realize, but warehouse management systems are extremely complicated, right?
Anyone from the people who develop these apps, are they in general have some development experience, or are they all non-developers at all?
We're all like non-developers. We're all reasonably intelligent people that are not developers and just try really hard and just don't give up. Yeah, but that's our criteria. Is if you have to be developer, then it doesn't work. So here we have, for example, for manufacturing, for production. So you can group everything into one place: production, picking, receiving. Yeah, we're not even Jodi. Jodi's learned a little bit how to use APIs, and like we've learned some of the background. And I'm familiar like in SQL, so I was able to fix. If a view happens to be very slow, I can help debug it. But overall, we have one developer on our team, but he's focusing full time on migrating from Odoo 15 to 19, and maybe setting up the server. So, for example, when we self-hosted UI Bakery, like that was a developer, right? Because that's not something.
Yeah,
but once it's done, it's done.
Yeah. And maybe you can also give some before and after numbers. I mean, like how much money do you estimate to save, or like any reduction in errors that you have been able to track, something like that?
I mean, it's very early deployment. Like I think just the procurement app, because like purchasing in our company is so like it's such a complicated process. I mean, it would take hours and hours of work. So this is going to save probably like 10 hours of work from one of our top people in our company. So it's game changing, right? The warehouse management system is going to self-organize. It's going to somewhat self-organize the warehouse. So it's going to increase the efficiency of what the people do. Like how much money we're saving, I don't know. For me, it's more about becoming more efficient. You do save a bit of money with from software, because we are going to reduce a little bit of the software that we pay for. But a lot, I think, is growth without having to growth without having to actually expand more, to expand faster. And it's enabling growth. We have lots of ideas and we can't do what we want to do, and we're kind of growing at 5-10% a year. And I think that this will help us grow at 25-30% a year, because it's unlocking all the ideas about finding new products on Amazon, about purchasing better, not shorting customers. It allows to give better service. Like that's essentially what this does, right? In the end purpose, it gives better service to the end user, and it organizes your staff better. So it's
definitely.
It's so transformational, but it's going to be difficult to tell.
Yeah, but when it comes to the cost savings on software, do you have any approximate number of how much money do you plan to save on subscriptions?
Well, I mean, there might be we've always been very, very careful about what we subscribe to. Like we're not those people that are going to subscribe to Salesforce and to this and to that, and Odoo's not too expensive. So the part of it was like we weren't doing anything because there was nothing that we could do. Like we started a procurement app that was costing a few thousand a month, and that's going to be saved, right? And the PIM we saved. So we are going to save like maybe $50,000-$60,000 a year, which is a lot. But I mean, that's not. But the big benefit, it really is going to be that we can do more without having to spend more, right? Like we're going to be able to grow. Like we're going to make our website is going to become more nimble. Like we're going to be able to do reorder entry portals. We're going to it's sort of like, you're almost like like a small company that's like at $10 million of sales or 15 million. That can behave like a company that's like at $400, $500, $600 million essentially, insofar as maybe even better, because you don't have the overhead of all the games that management plays. So you have the nimbleness without the drawbacks. We don't know yet, but I like I said, for me, it's going to be like it's going to be definitely a profit changing. I'm hoping, right?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and yeah, maybe then the last question from me: who would you recommend UI Bakery to? And if you had to describe UI Bakery in one sentence, what would you say?
Well, I mean, I would recommend UI Bakery to anyone that wants to build applications using data, that doesn't want to have a developer do it, but is still willing to put in the effort to learn how to do it in UI Bakery with the AI, like to understand how to prompt AI to get what you're done. So someone that's going to be persistent and knows what they want, because you do need to know what you want, because UI Bakery is not going to tell you what you need, right? So you need to know what you want. You need to want to build it. And I think if you're willing to learn a little bit of technology, but not too much, then I would recommend it to anybody that sort of wants to delve in and create, a whole ecosystem. I mean, I'd recommend to almost anybody. Like I have difficulty finding any business that couldn't use UI Bakery, like for some piece of it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Unless every single employee in your company is a developer, I would recommend UI Bakery, let's say.
Yeah. And if you would describe UI Bakery in one sentence, what would you say?
It's sort of an orchestrated apps that non-developers can build, assisted by AI.
Yeah, that's good explanation. Yeah, thank you very much.